What is good, Raider Nation? I hope you guys are all having a great day out there. Let's get into this, man. This one's tough, man. I don't even know what I'm saying, guys. I hope you guys are having a great day because if you guys are like me, you guys are not having a great day. But let's get into it, man. Shout out to all of you guys that are already here, tuned in, watching the game with me. I really appreciate it. We're gonna get into this, man. We're gonna really break this down and discuss it. Before we get into it, I want to just give a shout out to some of you guys that are out here. Southern Oregon Reps said Carr is an 8-year failure. Shout out to you for being on. We're going to get into Derek Carr and we're going to talk about it, break it down. Jared Johnson, shout out to you. Defense been on the field all day. It's a thing called fatigue, man. I totally agree. Dr. Tiki, shout out to you. KG, Molly Mob. Shout out to all of you guys, man. I really appreciate it. I see a lot of you guys' comments. Honest Raider Perspective said maybe if Zay used two hands, we would have had more points. Yeah, man, I'm not sure exactly which one you're talking about. If you are, I think you may be talking about the final, I believe the final drive in which Derek Carr lobbed it deep and it hit Zay in the shoulder pad. Try using one hand. Let's discuss it, man. Let's really get into it. Shout out again to all of you, Todd Clemens. The whole team is a problem. Aunt Six Soldier or ONT6 Soldier. Shout out to you. I know I missed your super chat last time. And I apologize for that. So I'll try to get to any of your comments. We're going to discuss this, man. This one's very, very, very unfortunate, right? The Raiders, let's face it, man, 15 points, 17-15. That's not going to win a ton of football games, right? It's just not. The Raiders have to score more points. You know, it's crazy because I was discussing this game with my brother, and my brother and I really talked about it, and I really felt that the Raiders were going to put up at least 25 points this game. And the reason why I felt that way was solely for the reason that if you guys think about this, right, this team right here was without Montez Sweat, without Chase Young, without Landon Collins. Those are some of the better players on the defense side of the ball for this team. The Raiders, on the other hand, we don't have any injuries. At least we haven't had any injuries over the past couple of weeks, right? Like, we know what our team is. And we come in still, we only score 15 points. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, you know. I absolutely love this team, but it's very disappointing when you have all this going for us and you still can't get it done. You know, I know some people, and I've seen the comments, some people are going to talk a little bit about the fact that the Raiders were up 15-14, 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. They should have been able to get the stop. The defense should have stopped the opposing offense. I disagree. I 100% disagree. And I say that because we're at least coming into this year, we were an offensive team. We built around our offense. We invested into our offense. Over the past, about 3 years ago, we started putting the money into the offense at the ball. Antonio Brown, Trent Brown, Colton Miller, Alex Leatherwood, right? We're getting all these offensive players. Coming into this year, some of that might have potentially shifted a little bit, but we're still primarily an offensive team, right? The identity of this team is the offense scores points. But they haven't been able to do that this year. 15 points against the Washington football team. They didn't have their two best defensive players, and we still only scored 15 points. And it's not like we weren't able to move the ball. Like, we were able to get the ball downfield at different times, but we just weren't able to capitalize and score points. That's how you lose games, man. 3 field goals it's just what it is, man. You absolutely can't do that. Let's get into some of these comments here. Todd Clemens says Olsen and Bisaccia can't get it done. I totally agree, man. Do you guys think that Bisaccia deserves another shot with this team? I don't think so, man. I don't think Bisaccia is the guy for the Raiders. And Greg Olsen's, in my opinion, a terrible, terrible offense coach. Here's the thing. We knew once John Gruden got canned that Bisaccia taking over might work out, but Greg Olsen calling the plays is not going to work out. That, too, I know a lot of people said, let's let Derek Carr call some of these plays. Let's let Derek Carr do things. Derek Carr is not an offensive coordinator. He's not an offensive coach. Doesn't make sense to let Derek Carr do that, right? He's a quarterback. He executes the plays that are called for him. But those two guys, man, they got to go. They can't get it done. Byron said, how do we beat the Cowboys but not Washington? I haven't watched the tape of the Washington football team, and I'm talking about the all-22 tape yet. But I'm going to make the assumption that Washington kept 2 safeties deep, and that has been the Achilles heels of Derek Carr. When you keep 2 safeties deep and you play zone coverage, Derek Carr checks it down way more often. the Dallas Cowboys played a lot of man-to-man coverage. They didn't keep two safeties deep. They blitzed a ton. And Derek Carr is great when you blitz him. It's not as good when he has to read the field and make those throws into zone coverage. And it's kind of what's been happening this entire season. But I shout out to you for the comment. I appreciate it. Jesse Rodas said, salute Sanjit. Really appreciate you, man. Always tune in, always live, always positive. Huge shout out to you, man. Honest Raider perspective said, yeah, offense needs to go. I'm sick of the checkdowns. Kurt said it best. Be responsible, but be aggressive. I believe you're talking about Kurt Warner, and I believe you may be talking about the video he created. And I'm not sure if you're talking about the most recent one or the one of the past, but, Derek Carr, we know this. Derek Carr has missed guys, right? Guys that are open. I don't know if he missed Zay Jones wide open because the camera crew kind of showed a half angle of Zay Jones being open. They didn't show the full clip or at least the full camera angle. So I don't know if Zay Jones was open, but there was one play where Deshaun Jackson was wide open right through the middle of the field. Now we got a first down on that play regardless. So it doesn't really matter, but we could have picked up way more yards. Again, I'm not saying, it's 100% on DC because you know what? This offense can't get it done. Rather it's the offensive line not being able to get their job done. Rather it's Derek Carr not be able to complete a pass. Rather it's the defense not get a stop when we need a stop. The team's just not getting it done. And I will say this too, right? You can put a lot of blame on the coaches. Tom Cable, Rich Bisaccia, Greg Olson, because for whatever reason, they decide they want to keep it going with, in my opinion, one of the worst offensive tackles in the league in Brandon Parker. For what reason do you continuously keep Brandon Parker on the field? Tell me. You guys tell me right now in the comments below, why keep Brandon Parker on the field? The guy is terrible. I believe Carr got sacked maybe once or twice because of Parker. He got pressured or hit multiple times, and he's going up against a backup offensive tackle and he still couldn't get it done. I don't know what the excuse is to keep Brandon Parker on the field, but it's not working, man. It's absolutely not working. Johnny Pratt said, we were built to be a run-first offense, but can't run the ball. Today, we weren't as bad running the football. Just looking at the statistics, Josh Jacobs had 13 carries for 52 yards, but he also had 38 yards out of the backfield. Again, 52 yards isn't great, but he did average 4 yards per attempt. But I agree, man. I feel like we didn't run the ball enough. In total, we ran the ball with our running backs 14 times. The Washington football team ran the ball 30 times. That's the difference in the game, in my opinion, if you guys ask me, right? You got to run the ball more. And then even then, third down efficiencies, the Raiders were 2 of 8 on third downs. That's not good enough, man. You got to be better. We got the first super chat of the day. Again, if you guys have questions or concerns or wanna be featured on the channel, super chats or becoming a member, and I will I will always try getting to your questions, comments. Super chats, I will always answer super chats. And they support the channel. You guys know that a lot of my film content on this channel is demonetized, which means I don't make any money from putting those up. So super chats are always a great way to support the channel. Larry Millette said, bad coaches, bad scheme, and we can't win with the Kirk Cousins clone as our quarterback. He is too inconsistent. And I don't disagree with that. I don't see anything wrong with that comment. Let's be honest. Derek Carr is very similar to Kirk Cousins. Derek Carr is very inconsistent. And in my opinion, I would rather take the chances with, getting a guy out of the draft, even if he ends up like Drew Lock, right? You get a guy, if he's Drew Lock, you move on in 1 or 2 years. But having a guy like Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins just doesn't win in this league. Like, which quarterback in the last 10 to 20 years has won not being a top tier quarterback, right? On the top of my head, I can really only think of like Nick Foles. Obviously, he had a great team around him, and that team really only lasted 1 year. But Nick Foles won once, and outside of that, the guys that win are like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, the Peyton Mannings of the world, or the Drew Brees. Those are the guys that, in my opinion, will always win. Guys like Kirk Cousins is not going to win. And I'm not saying Derek Carr is 100% Kirk Cousins, but Derek Carr is very inconsistent. Like, let's just be honest. The guy threw the ball 38 times today and only had 249 yards, right? It seemed like we had so many plays designed for 2, 3, 4 yard gains. There was a moment early in the game when it was 2 moments. One was 3rd and 4, and Derek Carr threw the ball to Hunter Renfrow for a 1 yard pass. It fell incomplete. But then there was another play. I think it was 3rd and 2. Derek Carr went up there and he made a check. I don't know if it was Robert or something with an R, which indicated right. In football terms, you'll use words like Robert to indicate right or Lucy to indicate left. He called Robert, and we ran a screen pass to the right, and their defense blew the play up. But it's like that's so uncreative. Like you go out there, you call Robert, and you throw the ball for behind the line of scrimmage 2-3 yards. Those are the plays that really kill us, man. And the Raiders got to get it done, man. You got to get it done. And again, I'm not saying the Raiders need to replace Derek Carr, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that that's what needs to be done, although that is of my opinion, right? I do think that the Raiders need to consider different options at quarterback. Jesse Rhoda said, Carr is not out. I'm not sure if you mean he's not our guy or something else, but let's get into the next couple of chats. You also say you saying Carr is trash, but there's 5 to 6 teams who want him. I don't know. We'll find out. Obviously, we will definitely find out. Ben Bad said they were all open. I'm not 100% sure if he's referring to potentially the guys that I said that were open, Deshaun Jackson and Zay Jones on those 2 plays. But yeah, man, this team's really frustrating to follow, and it's really frustrating to continuously lose, right? The way we're losing. Like the Bears scored 9 points against us. The Giants scored. I'm sorry, we scored 9 points against the Bears. We scored 14 points against the Giants, 16 points against the Chiefs, and like 13 points the week after. That's not going to get it done, right? And even against the Washington football team, 15 points, it's not enough to win. Juan Nino, thank you for the super chat. Said Davis sucks as an owner. Bradley plays DBs loose at goal line. Olsen can't call plays. Versace can't manage games clock. Carr missed open touchdowns. And the thing is I agree with all of that. Like, if the Raiders continuously make bad decisions, right? For example, we had Reggie McKenzie, who was a pretty good general manager, in my opinion. But then they made the decision of getting rid of Brent Musgrave, the offensive coach that had the Raiders firing in 2016. They got rid of him, right? And in my opinion, that was a bad decision. At some point, Mark Davis has to say, hey, man, what the hell are we doing here? And then he goes out and gets John Gruden, and he's allowing John Gruden full control. And giving John Gruden full control, in my opinion, was a bad decision. John Gruden has proven that he could not draft well, and we saw that. Guys like Cleveland Farrell. Like, I want you guys to think about this situation today. Malcolm Koonce played in his first ever game ever, and he already has more production than Cleveland Farrell has this entire season. Cleveland Farrell's played over 250 snaps. Think about that. Malcolm Koonce, 20 snaps, has a sack. Cleveland Farrell has yet to have a sack. What the hell are we doing? One guy was the 4th overall pick. The other was a 3rd round pick. I'm just saying, man, the Raiders have to get better. And I agree with the whole Gus Bradley, the Greg Olsen, Basaccia. The Raiders got to get a brand new coaching staff coming in next year. Like, we cannot roll with what we have right now. It's just not acceptable, man. Sion A says, Sanjit, love your work, mate. Why not have number 8 for the 2-point conversion? I think one of the things that the Raiders are doing that's wrong with Marcus Mariota is they're bringing him into the game, and they're only running read options. Let the guy throw the ball once in a while. It doesn't make a ton of sense why we're only bringing him in to run the read options. And we did do a little trick play where he was in the backfield after the read option. He was in the backfield on the very next play, and then he shifted out to wide receiver and he ran an actual route, which was interesting in my opinion. But we are running those type of things. But let Marcus stay on the field and take Derek Carr off the field, right? Because Derek Carr is not going to make a play. And maybe you run 3 consecutive plays. Hurry it up with Marcus Mariota on the field. Run a read option on one play. Come back, run a fake read option, and pass it. Come back on the 3rd play and throw it deep, right? Do different things with Marcus Mariota other than just run the read option. In terms of having him in on the 2-point conversion, I think when you put Marcus Mariota in the game, you're really only going to run the read option, and I think defenses may know that at this point, right? It's interesting because there was a play that the Raiders on 2nd and 9 decided to run a read option with Derek Carr, and he decided not to keep the ball. He handed it off, and we lost the yard on that play, right? And I'm not sure what the coaching staff is thinking. Derek Carr is not the read option guy. Why let him run the read option, right? Either way, Johnny Perez also said a huge chunk came in on one run. I believe you're talking about Josh Jacobs. You can also use that same argument for Derek Carr, right? You can say that majority of his yards came on maybe 4 or 5 throws, realistically speaking, right? Foster Moreau had I believe it was a 34-yard catch. Hunter Renfrow had a 28-yard catch. Brian Edwards had an 18. just right there, that's like 75 yards, right? You can kind of use that same logic for everybody. But Josh Jacobs did, in my opinion, have some nice 3, 4, 5 yard runs, right? At least in my opinion, from what I saw. Let's get into some more of these super chats. Dirty Styles, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank all the super chatters. You said, how much of a chance do we have in re-signing Perryman? If Gus Bradley's here next year, I think Denzel Perryman's going to come back. I would love Denzel Perryman to come back because Denzel Perryman, let's face it, has been one of the most consistent players on the Raiders. And you know what's crazy about Denzel Perryman is the guy is such a downhill thumper and he hits so hard. He throws his body out there and the guy never gets hurt. And it's crazy because today was the first time we actually saw him kind of get hurt. But generally speaking, the guy plays very aggressive and he doesn't get hurt. So I got to give a huge shout out to him, man. He does a really nice job, in my opinion. And I want to get into some of these other super chats. Thank you again, man, for the super chat. I hope I didn't miss any of the super chats. I see a couple more coming in. Again, thank you guys for the super chats. They really do mean a lot and they really do help the channel grow. Casey said too much behind the line of scrimmage. First half plays. It seems like Gruden clock control. Playbook still deeply settled in the offense. The thing is this is a John Gruden built offense, right? Coming into the season, all of our audibles, our play calling, our players that we brought in were based around John Gruden's offense. So we're not going to get away from that, right? We're going to continue to run that offense. We're going to continue running that West Coast, 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. But I do think we can kind of get away from it. We don't have to continue to do that, but we do, right? We still continue to throw those short 3, 4, 5 yard passes. There's a statistic that I saw today at halftime, and let me get my phone out really quickly and read it for you guys. This one came from Josh Dubow, who he's very critical of Derek Carr, but check this out. In the first half, Derek Carr was 11 for 14 for 60 yards, but his 11 completions traveled a combined 0 yards. So what happened in the first half is basically Derek Carr threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage so many times that the amount of yards that he actually threw, right, considering the fact that he threw sometimes for behind the line of scrimmage for 3 yards, those type of throws combined for 0 yards. Like, that's what Derek Carr had thrown. And I don't get it. Like, when are we going to complete passes 15, 20, 30 yards downfield? It almost seems like the times where we do throw it downfield, it's like you can count how many times on your fingers that we're barely getting the ball downfield. We're barely pushing it downfield. And I honestly think that is why the Raiders are struggling. At the same time, man, you guys tell me. Last week, Deshaun Jackson came in and he had huge impacts. Huge impacts for the Raiders. We're throwing him the ball 30 yards, 50 yards, 90 yards, 200 yards. We're throwing him the ball everywhere, right? And at what point did the Raiders decide, let's get away from that and let's not throw Deshaun Jackson the ball downfield? Like, did Deshaun Jackson have any targets today? I believe he had 1 catch today. Deshaun Jackson, looking at the stats, had 1 catch, 1 target. That was our game plan coming in today. And again, I understand the Washington football team probably did their thing, right? They probably said, let's keep 2 safeties deep and force everything underneath. But you got to do something. You got to give me something, man. Aunt Six Soldier, thank you for the super chat. Said, our offense sucks. We need to rebuild it in the offseason. O-line and wide receiver wise, Jacobs looks healthy. We should feed our head coach. Sucks at clock management. I agree, man. I totally agree with you. Right now, the Raiders' offense is not getting it done, and we do need to retool the entire offense, in my opinion. I don't know exactly what you do to fix the offense because John Gruden loves tight ends, all right? Factually, he loves tight ends. John Gruden will throw the tight end the ball on every play if you allowed him to. Derek Carr, I don't think loves tight ends. Darren Waller's statistics have fell off, and I feel like Derek Carr doesn't want to get tight ends the ball. So at this point, do we need to bring Waller back? Should we trade Waller? I don't know, right? It almost seems like if you want to keep Waller, you're going to choose Waller over Derek because Derek, in my opinion, has never loved tight ends. It's really the scheme fit of John Gruden that's allowed him to really get tight ends the ball. I believe Jared Cook came to the Raiders in John Gruden's first year, or maybe it was John Gruden's second year. But that's when, that was the first tight end that had a lot of success over the past couple of years. And then obviously from Jared Cook, we got Waller, and Waller started having that success. But it seems like since John Gruden hasn't been here, Waller's not having that same success, right? Either way, I know there's some rumors out there. We won't really get into them. But, some of the rumors are that Darren Waller doesn't want to play with Derek Carr. And I don't know how true those rumors are. The guy that put it out there has actually came through with some other good stuff, right? Like some good sourced information. Um, Again, I don't really believe into it. I don't know their relationship, but the guy did put out some videos as well. Derek Carr and Waller walking side to side, and they don't even talk to each other, right? Again, pure speculation. Don't know if it's true, but thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. David Estrella left a $5 super chat without a message. Thank you. Definitely leave a message, man. If you guys are going to leave a super chat, definitely leave a message. Really appreciate it. Raiders need Ben DiNucci. That's my quarterback. I don't know about that one, man, but I appreciate the super chat. I believe Ben DiNucci is the Steelers' backup quarterback, right? Then don't quote me on that. I don't know every single one of these guys. Or he's the Cowboys' backup quarterback. Okay. Yeah. I mean, either way, if the Raiders are going to move on from Derek Carr, you don't want to go get like a backup quarterback out there in the league or another quarterback in the league. You want to get a rookie, right? Unless it's Russell Wilson, unless it's Deshaun Watson, or unless it's Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to get one of these other quarterbacks, right? If the Raiders decide to move on from Derek Carr, and I don't even think it's the right time to move on from Derek. Right, I think the Raiders would be wise to potentially go into next year with Derek, because you got to build the team, you got to build the roster. You have to be able to do that first, right? You don't want to just bring a rookie in. Look at Justin Fields struggling, right? Look at Trey Lance and the fact that the Niners don't want to throw him out there because they know he could potentially struggle, as opposed to look at Mac Jones, right? Like Mac Jones is not the best quarterback out of this class. He just ends up having the best help, the best roster, the best coach. All those things matter, right? Especially when you bring these guys in. Key Ian said penalties on defense were huge. Max Abrams and Faison, shaking my head. And I agree with that, man. You know what's crazy is the penalty on Max Crosby was terrible, as was the penalty on Jonathan Abram, but they were the right penalties, right? You cannot, as a pass rusher or as a guy that's going to hit the quarterback, you can't hit him and then fall on top of him. That's a penalty. That's a rule that's been in place. You can't do it. I don't agree with it. I think it's a stupid penalty, but it is a penalty. Same thing with Jonathan Abram. Horrible penalty. You can say he was kind of going for the tackle, but you can't hit a guy low out in the open space. It's technically what the rule is, right? But they're terrible rules, right? And I will say this: Brandon Faison needs to see the bench. I'm not sure why the Raiders decided to do this, but last week Desmond Trufant looked really good against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sure why our coaching staff decided to go with Brandon Faison, but Faison not only allowed a touchdown, he had multiple penalties that gave the Washington football team first downs. Not sure why the Raiders continue to roll with him. Gus Bradley was very quick to get rid of Amik Robertson, but he isn't as equally quick to get rid of his own guy. And I'm not sure why that's the case, because this guy sucks, man. In my opinion, he sucks. And I know he had some good plays early on, but Brandon Faison is not the guy. Honest Raider Perspective said, I gave Carr the benefit of the doubt for too long. He needs it perfect around him to succeed. That doesn't take talent nor effort to blow it up, guys. I want the defense to stay. I like Gus Bradley. And I want to ask you guys a question, right? Does it make sense for the Raiders to keep the current defensive scheme and then go out and get an offensive-minded head coach and let him run the offense? I wouldn't oppose that, right? But I don't know if there's a coach out there that wants to do that, right? You'd have to potentially go out and get a coach. I know Joe Brady got fired today. I don't know if that makes sense for the Raiders because, he just got fired for a reason. But there's some other guys out there. I know the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coach has been a candidate out there. There's a couple other guys. What's the guy from the Cowboys? I think is it Kellen Moore or their offensive coach as well, potentially. The Raiders got to do something on the offense side of the ball. Pharaoh from the East, thank you for the $10 super chat, man. I really appreciate it. You said, I understand you want to move on from Carr, but Raiders have an issue building a team. Zay Jones should never play another snap again. He misplays balls in the air, but he's getting the ball in key plays. And that's a good point. It's crazy because I like Brian Edwards a ton. Like, I really like Brian Edwards. And I think Brian Edwards has so much going for him. His body size, the way he runs routes, his length. But the one thing I will say with Edwards is he's just not clicking with Derek Carr. He had one target the past 2 weeks. Edwards did, right? Today, I know he had a drop, but he had 5 targets today. So in the last 6 weeks, Edwards has basically 2 targets a game over the last 6 weeks. he's not going to ever put those statistics up. And I'm not sure why Zay Jones plays more than Bryan Edwards, because he is not better. Now, he may be better at the small things, right? Run blocking, running screens, stuff like that. But he's not a better wide receiver than Bryan Edwards. Remember, Bryan Edwards was considered Terrell Owens, right, in the offseason. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why he was getting that hype in the offseason. And I know some people will say it's the offseason talk. It's really not a big deal. But I will say that it is a big deal. Right? When you get that hype, it's because people are seeing your talent. And I really believe, and I've said this in the past, I really believe that if Bryan Edwards went to a team and went to a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, or one of these other top 6-7 quarterbacks, Bryan Edwards, I think, would be a really good wide receiver. I feel like he just doesn't get the targets because the Raiders offense loves to share targets. Right. In 1 week, it'll be Hunter Renfrow getting 8 targets. The next week is Zay Jones. The week after is Deshaun Jackson. Then it's Darren Waller, Foster Moreau. We're just not consistent with our 3 or 4 guys out there. Right. We rotate too much. And I feel like sometimes that could hinder the team. Right. And Farrell from the East, I thank you for the super chat. I do think the Raiders need to start looking at other options. Now, I will also say this. I think the Raiders should first, before 100% moving on from Derek Carr, I think you should give Marcus Mariota an opportunity. I don't see why the Raiders are so scared, because think about this. We got blown out by the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The game was over. It was 42 or 41-14 at one point. Why did the Raiders decide to continue rolling forward with Marcus Mariota? Why not? Why did they roll forward with Derek Carr? Why not let Marcus Mariota come into the game? Why not see what Marcus could potentially do for the Raiders? Why continue forward with the guy that, we're blown out? If he's our future, why potentially risk him getting hurt? Why not let the backup quarterback take some reps? I mean, I know why the Raiders do it, right? They don't want Marcus to go 10 of 18, 78 yards and a touchdown, and then that entire week, everyone's saying leave Marcus Mariota into the game, right? Either way, I think the Raiders are mismanaging the Derek Carr situation as well. When Derek Carr plays bad, it's not, you don't have to make the long-term decision and say we're done with Derek Carr, right? You can bench a guy for a half and then see what he can do coming back, right? The Miami Dolphins did it with Tua, where they'll bench him and they'll go with someone else. Other teams have done it in the past with their guys as well, right? The Panthers did it with Sam Darnold, among others. Either way, I also agree with your Zay Jones comment. Thank you for the super chat, though. I really appreciate it. Let's get into the next one. BP Lup said, why did we call 2 timeouts on the football team's final drive? Toaster IQ clock management. So I think it was the proper thing to do. They were in field goal range, right? So when a team's in field goal range, you know that you need to get the ball back and you need to stop the clock so you have time yourself. We had 3 timeouts at that point. The Washington football team I believe they were on the 40-yard line. And they picked up about 6-7 more yards, and we called 2 timeouts. And on 4th and 1, instead of going for it, they went ahead and kicked the field goal. And the Raiders had the ball, I think, with about 31 seconds left and 1 timeout. I think that was the correct decision. So although Rich Bisaccia has done a terrible job, today that was the right decision, in my opinion. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Cole GT, my brother, said, shit's annoying. AF, our coach is a joke. At the end, DC calls a timeout with about 15 seconds. And Goldberg didn't call a timeout until the 10-second mark. You know what's crazy is Derek Carr did call a timeout. He was doing this. And for whatever reason, I don't know why the referees didn't see it, but that too. Why did Derek Carr not tell the ref, man, I was calling a timeout. You guys need to go look at the replay or whatever, because we should have had more time. Now, I know Rich Bisaccia called the timeout with 10 seconds left, but Derek Carr was calling it, and I saw him call it, and I was kind of BS. And they did that to us twice. I believe they did that to us right before halftime as well. Either way, man, there's a lot that this Raiders team has to do to get it fixed. Shout out to my brother. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. There's a ton of comments coming in, so I really appreciate all of them. We're going to go through every single one of these comments, every single one of these super chats. Ryan Percy, thank you for the super chat. Left a $5 super chat. Sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong. This loss was completely on Carr. He missed so many reads. This game has ever opportunity to be won on offense, and Carr did not get it done. I don't disagree with you, man. If an offense scores 15 points, you guys tell me, does that mean the offense had success, or does that mean the offense had a bad game? All right. And it's different if the offense scored 15 and the Washington football team scored 45. Right. That's not the case. Washington scored 17 points. That too right? Washington had 7 points entering the fourth quarter. 7 points entering the fourth quarter, which is nuts, right? To think that, again, and I believe it was the final 2 drives that Washington scored the 10 points on. But the Raiders defense held the Washington football team to 7 points for majority of the game. And the Raiders had 3 points in the first half, right? In the second quarter, they kicked the field goal. 3 points in the third quarter. They had 6 points going into the fourth quarter. It's just not acceptable, man. The offense has to score more. And I agree. Like, you can put the blame on Derek Carr because there were missed opportunities. An example was those 2 plays specifically. One was the Zay Jones throw, which came right as the Raiders took the lead. But he missed Zay Jones into the back left of the end zone. Or, you can say maybe Zay Jones ran the wrong route or whatever. But either way, that's, Zay Jones was open, right? That should have been a touchdown. Or if not open, there was room for Derek Carr to deliver the pass for a touchdown. The Bryan Edwards 2-point conversion pass, Derek Carr overthrew it. Now, I know the broadcast angle didn't re-show it, which I don't know what the hell they're thinking. But in my opinion, that was a bad throw by Derek Carr. And those are just a couple of the different moments, right? Early in the game, Derek Carr says, Robert, whatever it was, and he throws it 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage to the right. You're telling the defense what you're about to do, right? Those are moments in the game that Derek Carr has to do better. And again, it's not just Derek Carr, right? The offensive line got blown up a couple of times. Brandon Parker, terrible offensive tackle. I don't know why we roll forward with him. Greg Olsen could have probably done a much better job calling plays. It's just the entire offense, man. It's just not clicking. Like, the only positive we have going right now is the defense. The defense is holding teams to 17 points, right? Again, dropped interception. Trayvon Merritt could have ended the game, right? He had an interception go right through his hands. But I want to know what you guys think, man. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Derek Carr. Is he the quarterback? Is he not? Let me know in the comments below what you think the Raiders should do. Let's get into the next super chat. Oli Shrubs left the $2.99 super chat, so thank you. You said fire Greg Olsen. His play calling makes me sick. I agree, bro. I 100% agree. This is the thing, right? I remember when John Gruden was fired and the Raiders came out and put up 30-plus points against the Broncos and the Eagles. And then everyone was like, oh, it was John Gruden was the issue, and we're so much better without John Gruden. And it doesn't feel like that anymore, right? Like, I don't think the Raiders are better without John Gruden. And I think it's very clear that the Raiders are not better. Like, John Gruden did a good job coaching, right? He got guys pumped up, fired up. John Gruden would not allow the Raiders to score the amount of points that we score, right? Think about just going back, right? 15 today, even in the past, right? 16, 13, 14, 9. Like, that kind of stuff is not acceptable, right? Thank you for the super chat. Madizzle said D has a chance to win the game, couldn't do it. That's a good point, man. At the end of the day, you have to also consider the fact that the defense, they had a shot to close the game out, right? And again, I don't blame the defense that they weren't able to do it, because at the end of the day, the offense needs to score more points, right? And I know sometimes it goes both ways, right? The offense puts you in position to win. The defense should get the stop. I do agree with that. But it's different when the defense only gives up a field goal versus a touchdown, right? If the Raiders scored a touchdown or converted the 2-point conversion, right? If Zay Jones caught the touchdown pass or they convert the 2-point conversion, it's a different game. The Washington football team that has to go downfield and score a touchdown, right? So it's a completely different game, in my opinion. Dirty Style says the defense needs another year with Gus, in my opinion. And I agree with that, right? And the crazy part is that Gus Bradley may not be here. Like, for the sole reason that if we let Rich Bisaccia go and we're no longer going to keep Bisaccia and we bring in a new head coach, if it's the Chiefs offense coordinator or someone else, are they going to keep Gus Bradley? And the crazy part is Nate Hobbs has came in and he's a Gus Bradley guy. Other guys like Trayvon Merritt is a Gus Bradley guy. Denzel Perryman, among some other guys, right? Solomon Thomas is doing much better with Gus Bradley than he has in the past. So when you look at that as an example, do you really want to get rid of Gus Bradley? I don't know, because I want to see Gus Bradley for a second year. But I will also say this. Do you guys really think that Gus Bradley couldn't be the head coach? Like, let me know what you guys think, because I do feel like Gus Bradley could potentially be the Raiders head coach. Like, I don't know. I don't think Gus Bradley was terrible when he had his opportunity with the Jaguars. And I say this, right? The Jags built a really solid roster, a really, really solid roster. Uh, so solid, in fact, right? Because Gus Bradley picked the guys for that Jags team. Gus Bradley picked those guys, and what ended up happening when Gus left was that defense that Gus built carried them to the playoffs the following year. And I almost feel like the Jags gave up on Bradley a year too early. I think if Bradley stuck around for another year and maybe he was able to get another offensive coach, I think it's a completely different situation, right? And real quick, if I missed any of the super chats, I apologize. Stream Yard, which is the platform I use, goes by really, really quickly. If I miss a super chat, I will always refund it later on. I will go back and check it out. Phil from the East, serious question: what is Zay good at? Run blocking, potentially, running screens and stuff like that. He's not a great wide receiver by no means. Like, let's just be honest. I'm not sure why Bryan Edwards doesn't play more than Zay Jones. I really don't get it. Bryan Edwards just isn't playing. And the thing is I almost feel like if we force Bryan Edwards the ball, we'd be better off, right? As Derek Carr forced Darren Waller the ball in week 1 and then recently as well, I think we'd be better off. Again, I don't know why Zay Jones continues to play. I appreciate the super chat. Any word on Drake? I didn't see it. Is he hurt bad? So Kenyon Drake was carted off the field. From what I saw, it looked like an ankle injury. Now I can't confirm if that's what it was, but to me, it looked like an ankle injury. I hope he's okay. Some people have already speculated that he may be out for the rest of the season for the sole reason that he was carted off the field. Now, it could also be like a high ankle sprain or something like that. We'll find out over the next couple of days. Shout out to my man, Raid the Tape. He said, Edwards is not it, Sanjit. We've had too many wide receivers come through to produce, and Edwards is the odd man out. We'll find out, right? Because what's going to happen is Bryan Edwards, if he's not with the Raiders, we may not re-sign him. So if Bryan Edwards is not with the Raiders, he'll go somewhere else, and we'll see how he produces as his career goes on, right? We'll find out. And you're saying that we've had too many wide receivers produce. I'm not sure which wide receivers have produced for the Raiders. I know Nelson Agholor had his best season with the Raiders, but Nelson Agholor also is having a pretty good year this year, and he has a rookie quarterback, right? Sometimes it's just a guy getting away from the initial team he was with. Again, we'll see how that works out. Cooper has went to another team and done just as good as he has in his career. We'll find out, right? We'll see if Edwards gets more playing time coming in. Shout out to Raid the Tape, though. I was on his show earlier today, and I will be going live with Raid the Tape way more often on his channel. If you guys are not subscribed, go subscribe to his channel. Shout out to my man, Raider Honcho, as well. Go subscribe to his channel as well. He was live with us as well. I appreciate both of you guys, man. I really do. Let's get into some more of these super chats, though, man. Ulrich Keel said, we need playmakers on offense. Zay should have caught it. And here's the thing, man. I'm not going to disagree with that. Derek Carr threw the ball out there, and it was a pretty, he gave his guy the opportunity, and it hit Zay Jones in the shoulder. If that's Amari Cooper or if that's Nelson Agholor, we have a better chance at that being completed than Zay Jones, right? Zay Jones had every opportunity. Now, Bobby McCain, the safety for the Washington football team, man, shout out to him. The guy's a really good football player. And he did a pretty good job not, pass interferencing or anything like that on that play. But I don't know why Zay Jones is out there, man. I don't make sense to me. John Salinas, thank you for the super chat. Said the defense is doing well. I was afraid that this defense would bail out Carr and make him look good. It's crazy that you phrase it that way, that you were afraid that the defense was going to bail out Carr and make him look good. Here's the thing. If that happened, if the defense was able to do that, we would have won this game, right? And I would have preferred that they do that. But that because they didn't do that, now we're talking about Derek Carr, right? And half the Raider Nation is going to say the Raiders need to move on from Derek. Half's going to say the Raiders need to put Marcus Mariota in. And the other half is going to say, well, it's his offensive line. His receivers don't get separation. The defense didn't win the game at the end of the game when they should have. The Raiders are going to be split until they either move on from Derek or until Derek wins them a playoff game. The Raider Nation is going to be split. And the thing is we may not make the playoffs this year, right? Not that it's 100% over, but we are likely not going to make the playoffs this year. And if the Raiders don't make the playoffs this year, we'll have to go into this offseason with this same exact talk. going into next season, we'll be saying the Raiders need to move on from Derek, or at least half of us will. The other half will not. And we'll see if the Raiders actually make that move. I think a lot of it will also depend on the new coaching staff that comes in. Will the Raiders move on from Derek Carr? It'll depend which coach comes in, right? The Raiders, in my opinion, do need to go out and get an offensive head coach. I don't think having a defensive coach makes any sense. A dirty style says every deep ball is a 50-50 ball, no open receiver. That's a good point, but I will say sometimes wide receivers do get open as they're running deep. And then it's up for Carr to hit them, in stride or whatever. So I don't know if I 100% agree with that, but in that case with Zay Jones, that was definitely a 50-50 ball. And even then, like Derek Carr threw some passes deep, right? There was another pass he threw right before half to Bryan Edwards, to William Jackson. William Jackson almost intercepted it, but that's what I want to see from Carr, to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm cool. If that was picked up, I wouldn't have minded, because I would rather see Derek Carr throw the ball deep than not throw the ball deep, right? Thank you for the super chat. Julian said, trade Carr to Steelers, Colts, Washington, keep Gus. The thing is one of those teams may want Derek Carr, but they also may not, right? Like, do you guys think Washington football team prefers Derek Carr or their quarterback, Tyler Heineke, or whatever his name is? Or even Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? Like, or do you guys think the Washington football team would want Derek? Same with the Colts. Do the Colts want Derek Carr, or they want Carson Wentz? I believe the Colts may have re-signed Carson Wentz after they traded for him. So again, I'm not sure, right? The Steelers, they may want Derek Carr, but I don't think the Raiders would trade Derek to the Steelers, because that would be an AFC rivalry, and we wouldn't want to play him in the playoffs. I do think this of Derek Carr, right? If Derek Carr has a good defense, he can win you football games. And it's just unfortunate that the Raiders don't have a good defense. At the same time, I don't think it makes sense that the Raiders continue going with the guy that's going to want $35 to $45 million. At that point, you're hindering yourself from building that defense, right? I think the Raiders need to retool their entire team, really look at which assets we want to keep and which assets we don't, and really go from there. Obviously, I think the Raiders need to focus in on building the defense and going out and getting an offensive-minded coach that's as good as someone like Sean McVay, right? Like, Sean McVay turned the entire Rams organization around. Like, they went from being a terrible team to a top 5 team, and they've been a top 5 team pretty much every year since Sean McVay's there, right? That's what a good coach can obviously do. Farrell from the East said Edwards is not consistent. He's not that good right now. He doesn't really get open, and he drops balls. Carr does not trust him. Carr trusted Ruggs. That's a good point. I can't argue that. I do agree that Carr does not trust Bryan Edwards the way he trusted Ruggs, the same way he trusts Zay Jones and Hunter Renfrow. I would even argue that Derek Carr doesn't really trust Darren Waller. Like, I can make that argument, and I say that because Darren Waller looked much better when John Gruden was around, right? And Jared Cook looked really good when John Gruden was around, right? John Gruden forces tight ends open. So I feel like it's easier for Derek Carr to, at that point, get his tight ends the ball when John Gruden was here, because John Gruden was calling these design plays for tight ends. John Gruden's not here, and I don't think Greg Olsen is calling those same plays. Like Foster Moreau, we know what Foster Moreau can do with targets, right? We saw what he was able to do today. He had that one huge catch, 34 yards, and he broke a tackle after making the catch. But he only had 3 targets. Like, I believe more targets for Foster Moreau, and I believe he can produce, right? But I agree with the whole Bryan Edwards situation. I don't think Derek Carr trusts Bryan Edwards at this point. And before we move forward, there's a lot of super chats, a lot of comments. We're going to get into every single one of those. Hit that thumbs up button for me. I really appreciate it. It helps so other people can also see this channel. And subscribe if you guys are not subscribed, man. I really appreciate every single one of you guys. Over 550 of you guys are tuned in at the moment. Henny Hen said, we suck. Coaching sucks. DC sucked. He missed a Zay a few times. Same with Jackson. So I want to ask you about this comment. You're saying DC sucked, which means, are you saying that DC does not actively sucks, right? He's not actively a bad quarterback. Are you saying he only sucked today? And I think that's kind of the case with Derek Carr, right? He's inconsistent. If you're Derek Carr, where's the Derek Carr from last week? The guy that put up 36 points against the Dallas Cowboys. Where was that guy at today? At the same time, those 3 losses that we had, right? The Giants, the Chiefs, the Bengals. That same Derek Carr basically showed up today, right? That's the inconsistency that is losing the Raiders games. And that was the exact reason why in 2019, I said the Raiders have to move on from Derek Carr. because he was inconsistent. In 2020, Derek Carr came out and balled out. And I was excited. I said, this is the Raiders quarterback right here. The guy that played in 2020, that's what the Raiders need. And that's not the same quarterback we've seen throughout this season. At times we have, right? The first couple of weeks, he's playing really well. The Chargers game, he really took a step back. The Bears really took a step back. And he had 2 good weeks. And then basically 4 of the last 5 games, he's done a pretty bad job, right? Like, let's be honest. Too many checkdowns, in my opinion, from the Raiders offense. Some of that could also be, you can also blame the coach, right? You can't 100% blame Derek Carr. But I don't know if Derek Carr has the power to check out of plays or, check into some other plays or tell the coach, we're checking it down too many times. I would think that Derek Carr has that power. But if he doesn't, it's also kind of interesting, right? If Derek Carr's in year 8 and he doesn't have the power to tell his coach, hey, man, I want to throw the ball deep more often, I don't know, right? It tells you a lot about the quarterback at that point. And again, I know the coach calls plays, but Derek can also do a little bit more, in my opinion. Another thing is I want Derek Carr to yell at some players more often. I feel like he doesn't do that enough. But Raider said Zay couldn't track the ball and then didn't try catching it at its highest point. And that's the thing, man, is that ball was thrown so high and Zay Jones could not track it. I don't know if the lights got into his face, right? I'm sure the lights are on at that point. But either way, man, there's no excuse. You got to catch the ball. You're a wide receiver. It's what you do for a living. Find the ball, catch the ball, right? Flat out. At a certain point, receivers got to build their quarterbacks out a little bit, right? Derek Carr threw the ball up to Foster Moreau, 50-50 ball. He was covered by number 55. Number 55 broke it up both times. Foster Moreau has to come down with at least one of those because you change the game if you make those type of catches, right? Thank you for the super chat. And Jesse, I may have missed your super chat, or I might have missed someone else's super chat earlier. I do apologize. StreamYard goes kind of quickly here. Jesse Rodas did say, get Rodgers, put Carr on the bench, and get Adams. What a clown. Or I'm not sure exactly what emoji that is. You really know football. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come to the Raiders if he does leave the Packers. I don't think he would say, hey, I want to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. They have this great team, right? Like, it makes way more sense if Aaron Rodgers went to the Washington football team because they're a better team, right? They're a better defense. All they're missing is a quarterback. So it doesn't make sense for Rodgers to want to come here. Same with Devontae Adams, right? I know Derek Carr and Devontae Adams played football back in the days, but why would Devontae Adams not play with Aaron Rodgers? Why would he want to play with Derek Carr? Right? There's a big difference there, but in my opinion, at least, right? And again, I know it'd be 100% up to Devontae Adams to go wherever he wants. And I know he's played with Carr in the past, but does Devontae Adams really want to come to the Raiders and get like 4 targets a game because there's so many different guys that the Raiders are trying to get the ball to? I don't know, man. Either way, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The Raiders have a ton going for them still, right? And I don't want to end this video in a negative manner. And let's get into these super chats really quickly. And I want to wrap it up a little bit. But John said, I'm okay with Bradley being head coach, us becoming a defensive team, and have the quarterback, just take care of the ball. A lot the Giants and Bucks Super Bowl teams. And that's the thing, right? Is our pass rush is really good. You can win football games with just the pass rush. Right? If your pass rush is good enough and your offense takes care of the football, just like the Washington football team beat us there, right? They literally just used this recipe where their defense got stops, their defense was able to do enough, their pass rush got home. You can win football games like that. And the thing is, the Washington football team was without their 2 best defensive players. Montez Sweat and Chase Young were both out. Those are, Chase Young's a superstar, and Montez Sweat's a really good football player. Imagine if those 2 guys were healthy, what they would have done to Brandon Parker and then whoever else would have tried blocking the other one. In my opinion, it would not have worked out. And I am okay with Gus Bradley being the head coach. But I will say this, if Gus Bradley becomes the head coach, he would have to have a top 7 defense, right? And that's the only way. And that's like year in, year out, you have to have a top 7 defense. If, on the other hand, we have an offense that's top 7 offense and it's the head coach is an offensive guy, then I'm okay with the defense being, 15th or 12th or, 10th or whatever. Either way, man, the Raiders got to step up. JR said the Ruggs would have made that catch. I'm not going to disagree with that because he potentially would have, right? Henry Ruggs has shown in the past that he could make those type of plays. Thank you for the super chat. Read the tape. My man said our pass rush doesn't get strip sacks. Our D-line gets more hits than that turn into penalties and actually sacks per game. I'm going to agree with that, bro. Like, I don't know the exact I don't know the exact stats of what Raid the Tape is saying, but I'm not going to disagree with that. I do think that the Raiders at this point are getting so many penalties. Either it's roughing the passer, off, jumping off sides, or neutral zone infractions. I almost feel like our defensive line isn't getting it done enough. But I will also say this. I think right now the Raiders do have some injuries, and I think that is kind of impacting the Raiders, right? I think Gus Bradley wants to do some more things, and he's not able to because our players aren't healthy, right? Brandon Facyson, in my opinion, is doing a terrible job. Like, he should be benched. But if he's benched, who do you replace him with, right? So you got to consider that. At the same time, you look at a guy like Denzel Perryman who had to come out today. Kuntz played a ton because Yannick Ngakoue got hurt. Like, Ngakoue was not healthy. Max Crosby gets held like once every 7 or 8 plays, and they're never called for whatever reason. Again, the Raiders, they got to figure it out. I will say this, right? You have a bunch of assets already. For the Raiders, you have guys, just on the defense side of the ball, you have Yannick Ngakoue, who's 26 years old. Max Crosby, who I believe is 24 years old. You have Nate Hobbs, who's a rookie. You have Trayvon Merrick, who's a rookie. You have Jonathan Abram, who's in his 3rd year. Who else do you have on the defense side of the ball that's young? Malcolm Kuntz may be pretty solid, right? Maybe a really good 3rd defense man to rotate in. You have Solomon Thomas, who's literally in his 4th or 5th year. You have a lot of young players, but what you really have to do on the defense side of the ball, I love Denzel Perryman. I think he's a great football player for the Gus Bradley's team, but he's not a good coverage linebacker. And in today's NFL, you need a coverage guy. An example would be Jamin Davis of the Washington football team. He's a rookie, number 52. Did you guys see what he did on that screenplay? He chased that screenplay down. Jamin Davis, number 52 of the Washington football team. Peyton Barber caught the ball, and the Raiders had 3 offensive linemen out there, and the Washington football team had 2 guys going against 3 of the offensive linemen. It could have potentially been a touchdown. And here comes Jamin Davis from the opposite side of the field with that speed, that quickness to chase it down backside and tackle Peyton Barber for a gain of like 1 or 2 yards. Denzel Perryman will not be able to do that because Perryman doesn't have that speed, right? Devin White is a guy the Raiders could have drafted coming out of LSU. The Buccaneers take him. The Raiders could have had him. Instead, we took Cleveland Farrell. Kenneth Murray Jr. could have had him. Instead, we took Damon Arnett. Patrick Queen, same thing. We took Damon Arnett. The Raiders had every opportunity to get a game-changing linebacker, and they haven't done it. Maybe this is the year, right? Like, you could still go out and get a guy this year, right? Jamin Davis was on the field technically this year, right? We took Alex Leatherwood, right guard at 17th overall pick. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but the Raiders have assets. It's not like we don't have good players, even on the offense side of the ball, right? We have Darren Waller, we have Colton Miller. And, in my opinion, I think Andre James is a pretty good center. I think Alex Leatherwood could be an okay guard, although I think it's kind of overpriced taking him with the 17th overall pick. Hunter Renfrow is a good player. All right, Josh Jacobs, a pretty good player in my opinion, given if his offensive line can do a better job. So we have assets. It's not like our team is completely done, right? We just need to retool, right? If you're going to keep Derek Carr, get him a better right tackle and get him a number 1 wide receiver, right? Cut Zay Jones, cut Brian Edwards, cut whoever it is to make cap and go get Devontae Adams. Go get Michael Gallup, right? And go get these other guys that could potentially help Derek Carr if that's what it takes for the Raiders to be better. The defense, same thing. Go draft the linebacker that's going to make impact, right? Impactful plays. We don't have that. Go out there and get a shutdown corner, a real shutdown corner, not a 3rd round pick with the 19th overall pick, right? Go get a true shutdown corner or a guy that can force turnovers because the Raiders have assets. Right, this isn't a terrible football team. We've done some good things, although we've reached with guys like Cleveland Farrell, among others. But we still have assets, man, and I think the Raiders are still fairly close, right, to getting into the playoffs and having that impact. Fernando said if he still wants to come, Devontae Adams is a wide receiver 1. Plus, if I'm the Raiders GM, I'm going wide receiver round 1 after trade down. Olivier or Garrett Wilson are nice. This wide receiving group is very, very talented. Coming in, the Raiders have the option to get some really good football players in the draft this year at wide receiver. But I also want to mention this. In 2019, the Raiders had every opportunity. We had some superstar players come out of the draft, right? CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, all really good football players. And the Raiders took Henry Ruggs. And I'm not saying Ruggs was a bad pick, but obviously it's not going to work out at this point, right? He's no longer with the team. He'll likely not play football again. I think the Raiders have made some wrong decisions, right? And I don't want to get into Henry Ruggs, but I will say this. Do you guys think that's the first time Henry Ruggs did what he did? Right. I'm going to leave it at that. But the Raiders do have to go out and go get a wide receiver. Maybe it's Devontae Adams. Maybe it's Michael Gallup. Maybe it's someone else that they trade for or they draft. But I like what the Bengals have done, right? T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. That is how you build the team, right? At least from the receiver perspective. And the Bengals offense line is not that good, right? Like, let's be honest. The Raiders probably have a better offense line than the Bengals, which is kind of crazy to think. But the Raiders, in my opinion, have to fix the wide receiving group. I don't think the Raiders should move on from Derek Carr until they have the team in place to support a rookie quarterback. Casey said need Cam or Earl to make Bradley's D work well. And that's the thing, right? Is you do have to have those type of players, Cam Chancellor or Earl Thomas. But it's not even just that, right? Like, there's not a huge difference between guys like, Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor versus Trayvon Merrick and Jonathan Abram, right? And what I mean by that is people don't give credit to the linebackers that were with the Seahawks or the pass rush that was with the Seahawks or the corners that were with the Seahawks, right? All of that made that defense all come together and gel well. Trayvon Merrick's a rookie, but there's if the pass rush gets home more often or if the linebackers are better against the run, it opens everything else up, right? The Chargers had the number one defense when Gus Bradley got there. I believe they had, in his 4 years with the Chargers, 3 times they were in the top 14 in points per game, including the number one defense at one point. No one talks about the Chargers and who they had, right? But they had some good football players as well. The Raiders need to just get 1 or 2 impactful players. And I think that's kind of what they're missing. If the Raiders were able to hit on some of these guys that are coming out of the draft this past year, I think they would have been better off. Specifically, I think Alex Leatherwood was the wrong decision. Not saying he's a terrible football player, but you can look at some players that have came out. Guys like Michael Parsons, the Raiders could have traded up to potentially get him, right? And that's not unheard of. The Pittsburgh Steelers traded 2 first-round picks to trade up to get Devin Bush. I believe number 10. They swapped their picks with the Denver Broncos. And they took Devin Bush because they needed a linebacker. They understand how important it is to have a good linebacker. And Bush has been the difference for the Steelers defense. The Raiders could have made the same decision with Michael Parsons and brought him in to play linebacker. Or they could have just stuck it at 17 and taken Christian Barmore. But they don't make those investments. They don't make the smart decisions, right? It almost seems like if the Raiders just let me draft for them over the past 4 years, we'd be a much better football team. Like, flat out, right? I would not have taken Cleveland Barrow. I would not have taken Ruggs. I would not have taken Damon Arnett, among other guys. Alex Leatherwood, would not have taken him over Christian Darrisaw. Brian, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Fernando said, also agree with for RTP. More pressures, hits that lead to flags, and more missed throws on deep passes that lead to defense pass interference rather than completions. That's bad. And I totally agree with that, man. 100% agree. Cannot disagree with that. Thank you for the super chat. Robert, thank you for the super chat. Dante, all Carr does is short throw to Renfro running back dump off. That is a fact, right? 100% fact. It is unfortunate that what it seems like the Raiders do a ton of, in my opinion, is not the way to win football games. In my opinion, throwing it for 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards is not the way to win championships. It is not the way to win football games, win Super Bowls. I think you need to get chunk yards. Would you rather throw 5 passes for 5 yards each or 1 pass for 25 yards? All right. I would rather take the 1 pass for 25 yards. And the thing is the Raiders would rather throw 5 passes for 5 yards each to get those 25 yards. And the thing is you're more likely to throw an interception or throw an incompletion when you're throwing it for 2-3 yards at a time, right? I appreciate the super chat. John said, clarification, defense would keep games close for Carr. Losses will be close, and at times the defense winning games where Carr needs to finish. And I agree with that. Do you guys think that Derek Carr did not finish today? I don't think he did. I think too many field goals, which has been the Achilles heels of the Raiders. Red zone or, within 30 to 35 yard line, and we're settling for field goals. This is not the way to win football games. field goals don't win because you can kick 5 field goals and 2 touchdowns are the equivalent to 5 field goals, right? And when you're kicking all these field goals, it's just not a good recipe, man. I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate you leaving a couple of super chats. You said go get Ozzie Newman as GM. I believe he's retired or stepped down, right? And don't quote me on that, but thank you for the super chat. I appreciate all of you guys to have tuned in. Over 400. We went an hour here, which is definitely longer than I typically do. I really appreciate all you guys, man. If you guys can hit that thumbs up button, I'd really appreciate it. I would definitely keep hope. Season's not over. I believe at this point we'll be about 2 games behind the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win, I believe they're playing tonight or tomorrow. I believe they're playing tonight. But thumbs up, man. Keep hope. I think the Raiders can absolutely bounce back still. I don't think the season is over by any means. I think 8 to 9 wins is probably where the Raiders will end up. But we'll find out, man. Hit that thumbs up button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.